I was the strongest alpha in the whole city. Men feared my name. Packs bowed when I walked into a room. Nobody dared to challenge me until him. He was the one alpha stronger than me. Cold eyes, cruel smile. A man who swore in front of everyone that he would end my life. Then one morning, I woke up in his bed. My body was weak, my head was spinning, and the doctor said words that broke me apart. You are pregnant. Pregnant by the same man who wanted me dead. Now I carry his child inside me, and he does not know it yet. But when he finds out, will he still want to kill me, or will this child change everything? Please subscribe now so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Tell us your name and where you are watching from in the comment section. Now let the story begin. The training hall was quiet except for the sound of fists hitting bags and feet moving fast across the mat. Kai stood in the middle of it all, sweat running down his neck, black hair sticking to his forehead. He was not even breathing hard. Around him, 6 men lay on the floor, groaning, holding their ribs. He had taken down all 6 in under 2 minutes. Anyone else? Kai said, not even looking around. Nobody moved. One man tried to lift his hand and then thought better of it and put it back down. Kai smiled, not a big smile, just a small one, the kind that said he already knew the answer before he asked the question. This was Kai's life. He was the strongest alpha in the whole city, not the richest, not the most popular, but the strongest. And in his world, strength was the only thing that mattered. Alphas ran everything here, the businesses, the streets, the money, the power, and Kai sat at the very top of it all, with nobody below him foolish enough to test him twice. His second in command, a big, loud man named Toby, walked in clapping slowly. You know, Toby said, one day you are going to knock somebody's head clean off, and then we will have a real problem. They keep signing up, Kai said, wiping his face with a towel. Not my fault they don't learn. You could go easy on them. I could, but where's the fun in that? Toby laughed and shook his head. He had worked under Kai for 5 years now, and in those 5 years, he had never once seen Kai lose. Not a fight, not a negotiation, not an argument. Kai simply did not lose. It was almost annoying to watch if you were not the one benefiting from it. But Toby also knew something else about Kai, something that most people in the city did not know. Kai was lonely, not the kind of lonely you talk about over dinner, the quiet kind, the kind that sits in the middle of your chest and just stays there. Being the strongest meant people respected you. It did not mean people got close to you. Later that evening, Kai sat in his office at the top of a tall glass building, looking out over the city lights. His desk was clean, almost too clean, papers stacked in perfect corners, a single cup of coffee going cold beside his laptop. He liked things in order. Chaos was for people who could not control their own lives, and Kai controlled everything. Except one thing. His phone buzzed, a text from Toby. Damian's people were seen near the East District again, 3rd time this month. Kai's jaw tightened at the name. Damian. If Kai was the strongest alpha in the city, Damian was the only alpha strong enough to make people wonder if that was still true. 2 years ago, the two of them fought. Not a friendly spar, not a training match, a real fight, in an old warehouse outside the city, with no rules and no referee. It had ended with both of them bleeding on the ground, and neither one being able to say for certain who actually won. Since that night, they had been enemies, real enemies. Damian had told him to his face, in front of witnesses, that one day he would finish what that fight started, that one day Kai would not walk away. And Kai believed him, because Damian was not a man who said things just to sound tough. Damian was a man who meant every single word, quietly, calmly, like he was reading off a grocery list, instead of promising to end someone's life. That should have been the end of the story. 2 rivals keeping their distance, waiting for the day one of them finally made a move. But 2 months ago, something happened that Kai had not told anyone. Not Toby, not his closest friends, nobody. It started at a gathering, the kind wealthy alphas were forced to attend once a year. A night of fake smiles and real politics. Everyone pretending to like each other while sizing up who they could destroy first. Kai hated these nights. Too many people, too much noise, too many hands trying to shake his. He went outside for air, standing on the balcony of the mansion where the event was held, looking down at the garden below. That's when Damian walked out too. For a long moment, neither of them said anything, just 2 men standing under the same night sky, far enough apart to be safe, close enough that the silence felt heavy. "You're not going to try anything tonight," Damian said. It wasn't a question. Not in someone else's house, Kai answered. Bad manners. Damian almost laughed. Almost. They stood there a while longer, and somewhere between the cold air and the quiet, something shifted. Kai couldn't explain it even now, couldn't put a name on the way his chest felt tight when Damian looked at him, the way his heart moved faster than it should for a man he's supposed to hate. Neither of them talked about what happened after that balcony. Neither of them ever would, not out loud, not to anyone. It was a secret Kai buried so deep, he almost convinced himself it never happened. Almost, because 2 months later, standing in his office, with the city lights glowing outside his window, Kai pressed a hand against his stomach and felt something he couldn't explain. A strange heaviness, a tiredness that sleep did not fix, his stomach turning at smells that never bothered him before. He told himself it was stress. Too many fights, too much work, too many sleepless nights running a piece of the city that never stopped moving. But deep down, in the quiet part of his mind he tried hard not to listen to, Kai already knew something was wrong. Toby knocked on his office door and let himself in without waiting for an answer, the way he always did. "You look terrible," he said, dropping into the chair across from Kai's desk. "I haven't," Kai admitted. "Is it Damian?" Kai's jaw tightened slightly on his pen. "Why would it be Damian?" Toby shrugged. "Because it's always Damian. You get that same look every time his name comes up, like you're mad and something else at the same time. I can't explain it." Kai said nothing. There was nothing safe to say. "You know," Toby continued, leaning back, "for two men who supposedly hate each other, you two think about each other a lot." "Don't start," Kai warned, but there was no real heat in his voice. Toby held his hands up, laughing. "I'm just saying, maybe one day you two will stop trying to kill each other and just talk like normal people. That day is not coming." "Sure," Toby said, standing up and heading for the door. "Whatever you say, boss." Alone again, Kai sat back in his chair and closed his eyes. His stomach turned again, sharp this time, and he pressed his hand against it, breathing slowly until it passed. He thought about the balcony. He thought about Damian's voice, low and steady, saying his name like it was something dangerous. He thought about the promise Damian made, the one about finishing what that warehouse fight started. Kai at ours assumed that promise meant violence, a blade, a bullet, a fight to the finish, the way alphas like them were supposed to settle things. He never once considered that Damian's shadow might already be growing inside of him, quiet and patient, waiting for the day it could no longer stay hidden. Something was off. Kai could feel it, in his body, in the tired ache behind his eyes, in the way his own reflection in the office window looked a little more worried than the strongest alpha in the city should ever look. Whatever this was, it was not stress. It was not exhaustion. And for the first time in a very long time, Kai was afraid of what he might find out. The doctor's office was too quiet. Kai sat on the edge of the bed, still in his clothes, watching the doctor read something on a small screen. His leg would not stop shaking. He pressed his hand down on his knee to make it stop, but it started again a few seconds later. "Mr. Kai," the doctor said, turning around slowly. "Just say it," Kai said, "whatever it is." The doctor was an older man, calm, the kind of calm that came from years of delivering hard news to people who did not want to hear it. He pulled his chair closer and folded his hands. "You are pregnant," the doctor said. For a second, Kai thought he heard wrong. He almost laughed, actually. A short, confused sound escaped him before he could stop it. "That's not possible," Kai said. "It is rare for an alpha to carry," the doctor said gently, "but not impossible. Your body has all the markers, the tiredness, the nausea, the changes in your scent. I ran the tests twice to be sure." Kai stared at the wall behind the doctor's head. The wall did not move. The wall did not have an answer for him either. "How far along?" Kai asked, his voice much smaller than he wanted it to be. "About 8 weeks, the doctor said. 8 weeks. Kai's mind went backward, counting, until it landed on one single night, one balcony, one mistake he swore he would never think about again. "Is there someone I should call?" the doctor asked carefully. "Family? A partner?" "No," Kai said quickly, too quickly. "There's no one." The doctor did not push. He simply handed Kai a folder with some papers inside and told him to take care of himself, to rest, to come back in 2 weeks for another check. Kai did not remember leaving the office. He did not remember the drive home. He found himself standing in his own living room, still holding the folder, staring at nothing. He was the strongest alpha in the city. Men twice his size backed away when he walked into a room. And now here he was, standing alone in his own house, shaking like a child because of 2 small words. 8 weeks. Damian's child. The thought alone made Kai sit hard on the couch, the folder sliding out of his hands and landing on the floor. This could not be real. This could not be happening to him, of all people. Damian, the man who promised to end his life. Damian, who looked him dead in the eye and said he would finish what that warehouse fight started. And now Kai was carrying something that belonged to both of them. If anyone found out, it would not just be embarrassing, it would be dangerous. In their world, weakness got you killed, and nothing screamed weakness louder than the strongest alpha in the city, pregnant, and by his own enemy. Kai pressed both hands over his face and sat there a long time, breathing slowly, trying to think straight. He needed a plan. He always had a plan. That was who he was. But for the first time in his life, his mind was completely empty. His phone rang. Toby. Kai almost didn't answer, but he knew Toby would just keep calling until he did. "Hey," Kai said, trying to sound normal. "Where have you been all day? You missed the meeting with the West District guys. They're already talking about it like it's a big insult." "I had something to take care of." "You sound weird. You sick or something?" "Something like that," Kai said. There was a pause on the other end. Then Toby's voice changed, quieter now. "You know you can tell me anything, right? Whatever it is." Kai closed his eyes. He wanted so badly to tell someone, anyone. The weight of carrying this alone was already crushing him, and it had only been a few hours. "I'm fine," Kai said instead. "I'll handle the West District thing tomorrow." He hung up before Toby could say anything else. That night, Kai did not sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, one hand resting on his stomach without him even realizing he was doing it. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Damian's face. Not the cold, dangerous face Damian wore in public, the other one, the one from the balcony, when Damian had looked at him like he was something worth looking at, something worth wanting. Kai hated that he remembered that face so clearly. 3 days passed. Kai buried himself in work, throwing himself into meetings and territory disputes and anything that kept his mind busy. It worked a little. During the day, he almost managed to forget, but at night, alone in his house, the fear crept back in every single time. Then the 4th day, everything changed. Kai was in his office when Toby burst in without knocking, his face pale. "You need to see this," Toby said, holding up his phone. Kai stood up, already feeling his stomach drop. "What happened?" "Damian is coming here," Toby said. "Today. He sent word an hour ago. Says he wants to talk. Alone. Just you and him." The room felt like it tilted slightly. Kai gripped the edge of his desk. "Talk about what?" Kai asked, though some part of him already feared he knew. He didn't say, but Kai, he never asks to talk. He shows up to fight, or he doesn't show up at all. This is strange. You should not go alone. Kai's mind raced. Did Damian know? Was this the reason? Had someone from the doctor's office talked, or had Damian somehow figured it out on his own? Alphas have good senses, sharper than most people realize. If anyone could smell a change on Kai's body, it would be Damian. "I'll go alone," Kai said finally. "Kai, I said I'll go alone," Kai repeated sharper this time. "If Damian wanted me dead, he would not send a message first. He would just come." Toby did not look convinced, but he knew better than to argue when Kai used that tone. 2 hours later, Kai stood in the private meeting room at the top of his building, waiting. His hands were folded behind his back, his face carefully arranged into the calm, unreadable mask he always wore to enemies. But underneath, his heart was pounding so hard, he could feel it in his throat. The door opened. Damian walked in. He looked the same as always, tall, sharp, dressed in black, his silver-white hair falling just slightly over his cold blue eyes. But something about him seemed different today, slower, like he was choosing each step carefully. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. "You wanted to talk," Kai said finally, keeping his voice steady. Damian studied him for a long time before answering, his eyes moving over Kai's face in a way that made Kai's skin feel too warm. "Your scent has changed," Damian said quietly. Kai's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," Kai said, but his voice betrayed him, just a little, just enough. Damian took a step closer. Kai forced himself not to step back, though every instinct told him to run. "I have known your scent for 2 years, Damian said, his voice low. "I would know it anywhere, even if it changed, even if you tried to hide it." "Say what you came to say," Kai said, his hands curling into fists at his sides. Damian's eyes dropped, just for a second, to Kai's stomach, and then came back up to his face. Something flickered behind those cold blue eyes, something Kai had never seen there before. It almost looked like fear. "Tell me it isn't true," Damian said. Kai's heart stopped. He did not answer. He could not answer. And in the silence between them, in the way Kai's face must have looked, Damian already had the answer he came for. "It's mine," Damian said. It wasn't a question this time.
Kai's throat closed up completely. He stood there frozen, the strongest alpha in the city, unable to say a single word, while the man who promised to kill him stared at him like his entire world had just cracked open.
Damian did not move. Kai did not move. The whole room felt like it was holding its breath along with them. "Say something," Damian said finally. "What do you want me to say?" Kai shot back, his voice cracking just slightly. "Congratulations?" Damian's jaw tightened. "I want you to tell me the truth." "You already know the truth. You said it yourself." Damian turned away from him then, walking toward the window, running a hand through his silver-white hair. For a man who always looked in control, he looked completely lost right now, staring out at the city like it had the answers he needed. 2 years, Damian said quietly. 2 years I told everyone I would end you, and now you find out you're going to be a father instead, Kai said. He meant it to sound bitter, but it came out almost like a joke, the kind of joke you make when you don't know what else to do. Damian actually laughed, a short, tired laugh, nothing like his usual cold expression. "This is not funny." "It's a little funny," Kai said, "from where I'm standing. You're pregnant with my child and you're making jokes. What else am I supposed to do, Damian? Cry? I already did that. 3 nights straight if you want the details." Damian turned back to look at him, and something in his face softened just barely, just enough for Kai to notice. "You cried?" "Don't look so surprised. I'm still a person under all this muscle." For a moment, something passed between them that was not anger and was not fear. It was something older, something that started on a balcony 2 months ago and never really stopped, no matter how hard both of them tried to bury it. Then Damian's face hardened again, like he remembered who he was supposed to be. "This changes nothing between our packs," he said. "The East District border is still mine. My people still hold the docks." "I never said it did," Kai said, crossing his arms. "Good, because I still meant what I said about finishing things between us." Kai's chest tightened, but he did not let it show on his face. "Then finish it," he said. "I'm not stopping you." Damian looked at him for a long moment. His eyes moved down to Kai's stomach again, quick, like he couldn't help it, and then came back up. "Not like this," he said finally. "Not while you're—" He did not finish the sentence. "Careful," Kai said. "Almost sounds like you care." "I don't," he said too fast. "Sure," Kai said, echoing the same word Toby used on him just days before, and for some reason, that almost made him smile. Damian left without saying much else, but before he walked out the door, he stopped and looked back one more time. "I'll be in touch," he said, "about the child, not about anything else." "Can't wait," Kai muttered, and the door shut behind him. Kai sat back down slowly, his legs suddenly feeling weak. He pressed a hand over his stomach and let out a long breath. Somehow, saying it out loud, hearing Damian say the word child, made it feel more real than the doctor's office ever had. Word did not stay quiet for long. Word never did, not in their world. 3 days later, Toby walked into Kai's office holding a folder, his face grim in a way Kai had never seen before. "You need to sit down," Toby said. "I'm already sitting." "Sit down more," Toby said, and Kai's stomach turned cold. Toby placed a folder on the desk. Inside were photos, grainy but clear enough to be seen, of Kai leaving the doctor's office nearly a week ago. "Someone's been watching you," Toby said. "These went out to 3 different pack leaders this morning. I don't know who sent them yet. But Kai, if this gets out to everyone, if people find out you're pregnant, and by Damian—" "I know what happens," Kai said quietly. He did know. In their world, strength was everything, and pregnancy, especially for an alpha, especially by an enemy, would be seen as the ultimate weakness. Every rival who had ever been too scared to challenge him directly would suddenly find their courage. His territory, his reputation, everything he had built over years, all of it would become a target overnight. "Who would do this?" Kai asked. Toby shook his head. "I don't know, but whoever it is, they know things they shouldn't know. This isn't a random leak, Kai. Someone's been watching you closely, for weeks maybe." Kai's mind raced backward, trying to think of who could have seen him, who could have followed him, who had access to information this private. That's when the first twist landed, the one that changed everything Kai thought he understood about his own story. Later that night, Toby came back with more information, his face pale under the office lights. I traced the photos, Toby said. The person who sent them. It's not one of Damian's people, and it's not one of ours either. He paused, like he didn't want to say the next part. It's Marcus. Kai frowned. Marcus? From the East Border talks? Marcus used to work for Damian, Toby said, years ago, before Damian took over his territory. Kai, Marcus lost everything when Damian's pack grew stronger. His land, his men, his position. He's hated Damian ever since, quietly, for years. Kai sat back slowly, pieces clicking together in his mind. He's not trying to hurt me, Kai said. He's using me to hurt Damian. Exactly, Toby said. If the whole city finds out Damian got the strongest alpha pregnant, and that Damian is now tied to you whether he wants to or not, Damian looks weak too. His enemies will come for him just as hard as yours will come for you. Kai's chest tightened, but this time it had nothing to do with the pregnancy. This was so much bigger than two men and a balcony mistake. This was 2 years of hidden grudges finally finding their moment, and Kai and Damian's child had just become the perfect weapon for someone else's revenge. We have to warn him, Kai said, already standing up. Warn Damian? Toby said, eyebrows shooting up. The man who wants to kill you? The man who is apparently now tied to me whether either of us like it or not, Kai snapped. If Marcus takes both of us down at the same time, this child has no one standing left. We don't have a choice. Toby stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded, a small smile tugging at his mouth despite everything. You said we, Toby pointed out. You and Damian. Interesting. Don't, Kai warned. I'm just saying, Toby. Fine, Toby said, holding his hands up, but the smile did not leave his face. Kai called Damian that night. It rang twice before Damian picked up. This better be important, Damian said. Someone's trying to destroy both of us, Kai said, skipping straight past any greeting, using the pregnancy, using the child. There was a pause on the line long enough for Kai almost thought the call dropped. Who? Damian said finally, and his voice had gone flat and cold, the voice of a man already preparing to hurt someone. Marcus, Kai said, from the East Border. Another pause. That old fool, Damian muttered. He's been quiet for 2 years. I thought he gave up. Apparently not, Kai said. He's sending proof to every pack leader in the city by tomorrow. By tomorrow, everyone in the city will know our secret. Kai heard Damian exhale slowly on the other end, like a man bracing for a storm. Come to my estate, Damian said. Tonight. We need to plan this together or we both lose everything, including the child. Kai almost laughed at how strange the sentence sounded, coming from the man who had sworn to end his life. Since when do you and I plan anything together? Since we don't have a choice, Damian said, just like you said. Kai arrived at Damian's estate 2 hours later, the tall iron gates swinging open as his car pulled through the long driveway. The house was massive, all dark stone and sharp lines, lit by cold outdoor lighting that made the whole place look like something out of a story meant to scare children. Damian was already waiting on the front steps, arms crossed, watching Kai's car approach. Nice place, Kai said, stepping out. Very warm and welcoming. You're pregnant, not blind, Damian said. You know exactly what kind of place this is. I was being polite. You've never been polite a day in your life. Fair, Kai admitted, and for a second, standing there under the cold lights, both of them almost smiled. But the moment did not last, because somewhere across the city, Marcus's message was already spreading, from pack to pack, whisper to whisper, and by morning, the entire world both of them had built would know their secret. The storm was coming, and for the first time, Kai and Damian would have to decide if they were going to face it as enemies or as something else entirely.
Morning came fast, and with it came the storm Kai and Damian both knew was waiting. By sunrise, Kai's phone would not stop buzzing, message after message, pack leaders he had known for years, some asking questions, some already laughing behind the screen. He could tell just from the words they chose. Toby burst into the estate's guest room where Kai had spent the night, his face tight with worry. It's everywhere, Toby said. Every pack in the city knows by now. Marcus made sure of it. Kai closed his eyes and pressed his fingers against his temples. How bad? Bad, Toby said honestly. 3 packs have already pulled out of trade deals with you this morning, and Kai, some of them are saying worse things, about weakness, about whether you can still lead. Kai's stomach turned, and this time it was not the pregnancy. It was fear, real fear, the kind he had not felt in years. Everything he built, everything he fought for, hanging by a thread because of 2 words that were never supposed to leave that doctor's office. Damian appeared in the doorway, already dressed, his face carved from stone. Marcus wants a meeting. Today, neutral ground. He says he has something to say to both of us. A trap, Toby said immediately. Obviously, Damian said, but if we don't go, it looks like we're hiding, and hiding looks like guilt. Kai stood up slowly, one hand resting briefly against his stomach, a habit he could not seem to break anymore. Then we go, he said. Kai, in your condition? Toby started. I said we go, Kai repeated, sharper this time. I did not build everything I have just to watch it all fall apart because one bitter old man wants revenge on someone else. Damian looked at him for a long moment, something unreadable behind his cold blue eyes. Then he nodded, once. We go together, he said. Both of us, united. That's the only way this works. The meeting was set for an old warehouse near the docks, the same kind of place where Kai and Damian's rivalry had first turned bloody 2 years ago. Kai almost laughed bitterly at the location. It seemed like everything important in his life happened inside cold, empty buildings. When they arrived, Marcus was already waiting, standing in the center of the open space with 4 of his men behind him. He was an older man, gray creeping into his hair, but his eyes still held the sharp, hungry look of someone who had spent years planning this exact moment. Kai, he said, his voice smooth, and Damian, together. How touching. Say what you called us here to say, Damian said, his voice low and dangerous. Marcus smiled, slow and cold. I just wanted to see it for myself. The great Kai, strongest alpha in the city, carrying the child of the man who swore to kill him. And Damian, the fearless leader, tied down by a mistake he can't undo. He shook his head, almost pitying. Neither of you deserve what you have. I lost everything because of Damian. My land, my men, my place in this city. And now, finally, I get to watch both of you lose everything too. This has nothing to do with him, Kai said, stepping forward, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. This is between you and Damian. Leave it there. It stopped being between us the moment you 2 decided to make a child together. Now it's very much your problem too. Kai felt Damian shift slightly beside him, tense, ready. You sent those photos, Damian said. You've been watching him for weeks. I have people everywhere, Marcus said simply. It wasn't hard. Your little secret was never as safe as you thought. What do you want? Kai asked. Say it plainly. Marcus's smile widened. I want everyone to remember what happens when Damian takes what isn't his. I want the whole city to watch both of you fall together, the same way I fell, alone, with no one to catch me. The air in the warehouse shifted, tense and sharp, and Kai felt his heart pounding against his ribs. Marcus's men moved slightly closer, forming a loose circle, and Kai understood with sudden clarity that this was not just about words. Marcus wanted more than gossip. He wanted an ending. You won't touch him, Damian said, stepping slightly in front of Kai without seeming to think about it, his voice low and dangerous in a way Kai had never heard before, not even during their worst fights. Won't I? Marcus said. 2 years, Damian. 2 years I waited for a moment weak enough to use against you, and here it is, standing right in front of me, carrying your own child. Kai's hands curled into fists. He was afraid, yes, more afraid than he wanted to admit, but underneath the fear was something else, something fierce and protective that surprised even him. This was not just about his own life anymore. It was about the small, fragile thing growing inside him too. You want to fight? Kai said, lifting his chin despite the fear shaking through him. Then fight me. Leave everyone else out of it. Kai, no, Damian said sharply. I am still the strongest alpha in the city, pregnant or not. That has not changed. Marcus tilted his head, studying Kai like he was something fascinating and pitiful all at once. Brave words, but we both know you can't risk a real fight right now, not in your state. And that, Kai, is exactly why this works so well for me. He nodded once to his men, and they began closing in slowly. Kai felt Damian's hand find his, gripping tight, grounding him. Stay behind me, Damian said quietly. I don't need protecting, Kai whispered back, even as his heart pounded with fear he could not fully hide. I know, Damian said. I'm not doing this because I think you're weak. I'm doing this because I refuse to lose either of you. Something about the way Damian said it, quiet and certain, steadied Kai's shaking hands.
The first man lunged forward, and everything happened fast after that. Damian moved like water, fast and precise, meeting the attack head-on, using his size and strength to push the man back hard enough to send him stumbling into a stack of old crates. Another man came from the side, and Kai, moving on instinct built from years of training, sidestepped and used the man's own momentum to throw him off balance, sending him crashing to the ground. It was not a long fight. Damian and Kai worked together like they'd trained for this exact moment their whole lives, each one covering the other's weak points without needing to speak, without needing to plan. Within minutes, Marcus's men lay scattered across the warehouse floor, groaning, defeated. Marcus stood alone now, his confident smile finally cracking at the edges. "This isn't over," Marcus said, backing slowly towards the exit. "Yes," Damian said, stepping forward, his voice cold and final. Something in Damian's tone made even Kai's skin prickle. Damian did not raise his voice, did not move fast, but the promise in his words was unmistakable. Marcus seemed to understand it too, because his face went pale, and he turned and ran, disappearing into the early morning light outside the warehouse. The silence after felt enormous. Kai stood there, breathing hard, adrenaline slowly draining out of him and leaving his legs weak and shaking. Damian turned to him immediately, his cold expression completely gone now, replaced with something raw and worried. "Are you hurt?" Damian asked, hands hovering near Kai's shoulders like he was afraid to actually touch him. "I'm fine," Kai said, and then, because his legs genuinely wouldn't hold him anymore, he swayed slightly, and Damian caught him without even thinking twice, pulling him close. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Kai's forehead rested against Damian's chest, and he could hear Damian's heart pounding fast, just as fast as his own. "You could have gotten yourself killed," Damian said quietly, his voice rough. "You could have too," Kai said back. "I don't care what happens to me." "Well," Kai said, pulling back just enough to look up at him, "I do." The words hung in the air between them, heavier than either of them expected. Damian stared down at him, something shifting behind his cold blue eyes, something that looked almost like disbelief, like hope he didn't know what to do with. 2 years, Damian said quietly. 2 years I told myself I hated you. And now? Kai asked, his heart in his throat. Now, Damian admitted, his hand coming up slowly, brushing a strand of hair away from Kai's face, gentle in a way Kai never imagined those hands could be. Now, I don't know how to stop thinking about you. I never did, not since that balcony. Kai's breath caught. Every wall he built over years of surviving in this world, every piece of armor he wore just to stay alive, suddenly felt very far away. Then stop trying, Kai whispered. And for the first time in 2 years, standing in the same warehouse where their war first began, Damian leaned down, and Kai let him.
Word spread fast after that morning at the warehouse, but not the way Marcus had planned. By the time Kai and Damian walked out into the daylight together, still standing close, still not quite letting go of each other, 3 of Marcus's own men had already started talking. They told anyone who would listen how Damian stood in front of Kai, how the two of them fought side by side instead of against each other, how Damian's voice went cold and final when he told Marcus it was over. Stories like that moved fast in their world. By nightfall, the whole city already had a different version of the story than the one Marcus tried to spread. Kai sat in Damian's estate that evening, wrapped in a blanket he did not remember asking for, watching Damian pace back and forth in front of the fireplace. "You're going to wear a hole in that floor," Kai said. "I'm thinking," Damian said. "About what? About how to fix this properly. Marcus is gone for now, but people will still talk. Some will still see you as weak. Some will see me as foolish. We need a plan." Kai almost smiled at how quickly Damian went back to being the calm, calculating alpha everyone feared, even after everything that happened between them just hours ago. "Come sit down, please," Kai said. Damian stopped pacing and looked at him, something softening in his face. He crossed the room and sat down beside Kai, close enough that their shoulders touched. "I have an idea," Kai said, "but you're not going to like it. Tell me anyway. We stop hiding, all of it, the child, us, whatever this is between us now. We stop letting people like Marcus control the story by keeping secrets. We tell the truth ourselves, on our own terms, before anyone else gets the chance to twist it." Damian was quiet for a long moment. "You want to announce it? Publicly?"
I want to take away Marcus's weapon, Kai said. He only had power because we were scared of the truth. If we're not scared anymore, he has nothing left to use. Damian studied him carefully, like he was seeing Kai in a completely new light. You really are the strongest alpha in this city, he said quietly. I know, Kai said, and this time he let himself smile, small and tired, but real. 2 weeks later, Kai stood beside Damian at a gathering of every major pack leader in the city, the same kind of event Kai used to hate, full of fake smiles and quiet politics. But this time felt different. This time, Kai was not hiding anything. He stood tall, one hand resting naturally against the small curve of his stomach, and looked out at the room full of people who once whispered about his weakness. Some of you have heard rumors, Kai said. Let me save you the trouble of guessing. I am pregnant. The child is Damian's. The room went completely silent. Kai felt his heart pounding, but he kept his chin up, refusing to look away from anyone's stare. 2 years ago, Damian and I were enemies. Some of you probably still think we should be, but strength is not just about how hard you can fight. It is also about being honest, even when the truth is complicated, even when it is messy. This child did not make me weak. If anything, it made me more certain of who I am and what I am willing to protect. Beside him, Damian stepped forward, his cold blue eyes moving slowly across the crowd. Anyone who thinks this changes anything about our strength, Damian said low and dangerous, in the way that made people listen closely, is welcome to test that theory personally. Nobody said a word. Nobody dared. Slowly, one by one, pack leaders began to nod, some even offering quiet words of respect, the kind Kai never expected to hear over something like this. Not everyone accepted it easily. A few still whispered behind closed doors. A few still looked at Kai differently after that night. But the fear, the real danger Marcus had hoped to create, never fully took hold. Kai and Damian took away its power the moment they stopped hiding. Months passed after that. Kai's stomach grew rounder, and with it, something inside him softened in ways he never expected. He still trained every morning, still ran his territory with the same sharp focus he always had. Then now, Damian was there too, more often than not, standing beside him instead of across from him. Toby noticed the change before anyone else did. You're different, Toby said one afternoon, watching Kai and Damian argue playfully over paint colors for a nursery neither of them had ever expected to need. Different how? Kai asked, not looking up at the color samples in his hand. Softer, Toby said. Happier. It's strange to watch, honestly. I keep waiting for you to threaten someone just to remind me you're still you. I threatened 3 men yesterday. Does that help? Kai replied. A little, Toby admitted, laughing. Damian, standing nearby, rolled his eyes but did not bother hiding the small smile tugging at his mouth. He had changed too, though he would never admit it out loud. The cold, distant alpha who once promised to end Kai's life now spent his evenings arguing about nursery colors and quietly resting a hand against Kai's stomach whenever he thought no one was watching. One evening, close to the end, Kai found Damian standing alone on the same balcony where everything first began, 2 years and a lifetime ago. Kai walked up beside him, resting his arms on the railing, watching the same garden below. Thinking about that night? Kai asked. Damian glanced over at him, something soft in his cold blue eyes. Every time I stand here, he admitted, I never planned for any of this. Not you, not this child, not any of it. Neither did I, Kai said. For what it's worth, I'm glad none of it went according to plan. Damian reached over and took Kai's hand, lacing their fingers together, something they were still not entirely used to doing in front of others. But out here, alone, it felt easy, natural. I used to think strength meant standing alone, Damian said quietly, needing no one, trusting no one. And now? Kai asked. Now I think I was wrong, Damian said. The strongest thing I've ever done was let someone else stand beside me. Kai squeezed his hand, his chest tight with something warm and overwhelming. Careful, he said softly. Almost sounds like you care. I do, Damian said, no hesitation this time, no denial, more than I know how to say. A few weeks later, in a quiet hospital room instead of a cold warehouse, Kai held their child for the first time, small and healthy and loud in the way newborns tend to be. Damian stood beside the bed, staring down at the baby like he had never seen anything so terrifying and wonderful at the same time. He has your eyes, Kai said tiredly, exhausted but smiling. He has your stubbornness already, Damian said, wincing slightly as the baby's tiny fist gripped his finger with surprising strength. I can already tell. Good, Kai said. This world needs more
people who don't back down. Damian leaned down and kissed Kai's forehead gently, something he never imagined doing 2 years ago, back when the only thing between them was a promise to destroy each other. "Thank you," Damian whispered. "For what?" "For not giving up on any of this. On me." Kai looked up at him, tired but happy, in a way he had never felt before in his life. Strongest alpha in the city, now holding something far more powerful than any fight had ever given him. "I told you," Kai said softly, "I don't lose." And for the first time since the day Kai learned two men who once swore to destroy each other could somehow build something worth protecting together, both of them believed, without any doubt, that this ending, messy and unexpected as it was, might just be the best fight either of them ever won. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If this story made you smile, made you laugh, or made your heart feel something, please hit that subscribe button and stay close because more stories like this one are coming very soon. See you in the next story. Lesson from this story: true strength is not standing alone. It is having the courage to trust someone even after they have hurt you.